Hello friends, you all already know me. My name is Dmitry. In case anyone doesn't know, this is a new person for you. This is our manager Elena, and today we're going to talk about immigration to Montenegro. We'll try to make a comprehensive video about immigration. Lena, let me start with the first question for you. Tell us about the main ways to immigrate to Montenegro.
The main ways to immigrate to Montenegro are always going to be opening a company, buying real estate in Montenegro, and employment. That's my option. You can also get married. That's also my option, right? And you can also get a residence permit for medical reasons, that is for treatment time. Yes, well, for an illness, basically if you have some kind of ailment, you can get a residence permit. All these methods are good, but the most optimal is opening a company.
Why?
Because opening a company gives you a range of opportunities that none of the other options for residence permit I mentioned can offer. Well, maybe only if you marry a Montenegrin. There are some possibilities there, but for that you need some time, let's put it that way. And as for the company, you can use medical services, not just the company director, but your entire family as well. And your child can go to school or kindergarten, a public one, which is also a big advantage for women who are planning to give birth in Montenegro. This is also a plus because they have social insurance coverage for the entire pregnancy. Another advantage is the ability to open bank accounts, not only for the director, but also for your spouse or the whole family. There is an option to open a personal bank account in addition to the company account.
All right, let me answer the next question. The dynamics of the number of immigrants. As you know, I'm sure you know, in Montenegro, and not only in Montenegro, but in all visa-free countries where Russians could come quickly, easily, and relatively cheaply over the past year and a half, due to events we are all well aware of, there has been a massive influx of people. Crowds were coming in about 5 times more than before. Now, I would say that this has come to an end. Yes, immigrants are still arriving steadily, but the level of demand has most likely returned to what it was in 2019. And in principle, this was to be expected. In fact, on the contrary, I'm surprised it didn't happen sooner. That is, it was mainly remote workers who were leaving. And to my own surprise, there turned out to be an enormous number of them in Russia. They kept coming and coming, and it seemed like it would never end. But in the last...
They finally arrived?
Yes, they did over the last few months. They finally arrived. And in my opinion, the level of demand is now close enough that you could say it has returned to the 2019 level. Lina, let me ask you the next question. Tell us who mainly emigrates to Montenegro.
The people who emigrate to Montenegro are generally those who at some point had already considered the possibility of their family or themselves emigrating. These are people who at this moment may have been pushed by current world events, or those who over a period of time had been choosing where to go and ended up picking Montenegro. This is not surprising because Montenegro is one of those countries where immigrating is relatively easy, since there is no need for any special or serious preparation to immigrate here. Most often it's families or future families who emigrate again, families with children. And most often, as we've already mentioned, these are online workers for whom moving won't be as stressful in terms of work or in terms of adapting to a new environment and everything else. In any case, it will be some kind of stress for anyone. Nevertheless, the people who move are those who, taking matters into their own hands, arrive and are able to start earning their first money in Montenegro that very same day. This could be beauty services or, for example, confectioners. There are also those who, for instance, teach speech therapy, music, and so on, who only need to bring their own instrument. And just like that, they can already start offering their services. A big advantage for such newcomers, of course, is that there is already a fairly substantial client base here, specifically Russian-speaking people who appreciate good service, are used to certain services, and do not want to give them up after moving.
So maybe we should say a few words about visa runs as well. The thing is, not everyone and not all newcomers apply for a residence permit. Many people live here on visa runs. In my opinion, that's absurd. If someone comes to Montenegro intending to live here permanently, relying on visa runs is just foolish. So, to begin with, What is a visa run? A visa run is when you live in Montenegro for 30 days, then leave for a neighboring country, most often Bosnia, come back and get another 30-day visa. You can keep living like this for quite a long time. This is allowed for Russian citizens. But it doesn't give you the right to free medical care, to enroll your child in school, to get a visa at local embassies, the right to free medical care. And there are a few other rights as well. Most importantly, it does not give you the right to obtain permanent residency or citizenship in the future. That's why it's foolish to live here permanently on this basis. But if someone comes to Montenegro just to live here for a while, say a few months or half a year, then in principle this is quite a viable option. Lina, tell us about some examples of Russian businesses.
There are actually a lot of examples of Russian businesses right now, really a great many. And at the moment, let's put it this way. Everyone who has come here are quite ambitious people. It's a new place and there are, let's say, lots of thoughts and ideas. And among the first examples that come to mind, for instance, when walking along the promenade, I see a newly opened SUV brand. This is the rental of those boards for traveling along, let's say, the coastal area in the Bay of Kotor. That's one business option. Why not? These boards are quite easy to transport, inflate, and you can make some money from all of this. I'm not sure how much it costs to rent a beach spot, but it doesn't seem cheap right now.
Unknown.
It seems to me that with the current situation, but nevertheless, if people have opened up, it means it's profitable. Still, playrooms, Lego playroom is also an option. I think it's very interesting. In our city, Herceg Novi, there isn't anything like that. That's the first thing. So I think it could be an interesting and profitable business. Also, there's another situation. The immigrants who have come here are used to certain services and amenities, as I've already mentioned. Many people have arrived with pets. In general, Montenegrins have a particular attitude toward animals. For example, walking someone on a leash is considered rather funny here. So, as far as now goes, if you walk down the street and see a dog on a leash, in principle, this is normal and you understand this is most likely a Russian-speaking person. Similarly, beauty specialists are coming here as well. Those who do hair or provide services for your pets, that's also something that exists here. These businesses are also being opened by Russians. Confectionery services, pastry master classes, children's theaters are coming, vocal coaches are arriving, and massage therapists as well. There are actually quite a lot of people who, in fact, having come here with new ambitions and new ideas from various backgrounds and perspectives, can really earn good money by working offline here specifically.
So I guess now it makes sense to talk about the expenses involved in maintaining a residence permit. There are quite a few options for obtaining a residence permit in Montenegro. We'll talk about the most common one, the costs of maintaining a residence permit based on opening a company. I think probably about 90% of immigrants legalize their stay this way. The expenses consist of several items. The first is bank fees. They can vary depending on the bank and the banking services you use. For example, you might have e-banking connected, or you might not. Roughly, we're talking about an amount from 5 to 20 euros per month. And the second expense item is taxes as part of the overall budget. Taxes depend on the tax rate you are assigned to. According to the rules, you must pay yourself a salary of at least 450 euros. About 120 euros in taxes will be deducted from that. Well, to be precise, it's 116. But Russians often ignore the rules, submit documents to the migration department stating that they will receive a salary of 450 euros. But in practice, they pay themselves 4 times less and accordingly pay 4 times less in taxes as well. And the last expense item is accounting services. Currently, the cost of accounting services in Montenegro is 75 euros plus VAT. With VAT included, that comes to 91 euros. So if you sum it all up, it's roughly from 230 euros. Well, actually, no, wait, not 230. 91 is for accounting services, 30 euros for taxes, and on average about 10 euros for commission. How much does that add up to? Roughly 130 euros. So from 130 euros and up, in other words, the costs of maintaining a residence permit in Montenegro are unprecedentedly low. All right, Lena, the next question is for you. It's about working in Montenegro. What are the average salaries in Montenegro? Is there unemployment in the country, and at what level?
Well, I'll share my personal opinion here. If a person wants to work, no matter where they are, they'll find a job. I'm not saying it will be some huge salary with amazing conditions, but nevertheless, Montenegro is no exception. As for work, I think it's appropriate to start by talking about job searching specifically for Russian-speaking immigrants. Basically, during the season, finding a job is absolutely not difficult at all. That is, as you walk along the promenade, you will see nothing but job postings and ads looking for employees and so on. They'll even be willing to officially hire you, of course, and pay taxes for you. Well, that could be, for example, a dishwasher or a barback or a waiter. And of course, at least some knowledge of English is naturally welcomed here. Cleaners, for instance, in a hotel in Saboris earn around 600 to 700 euros per month. That's during the summer season in a good hotel. In some small hotels, this salary will be quite a bit lower. That's how it is. But still, for people who want to find some kind of job, it's necessary, of course, to learn the language for that. As for the fact that after you've lived here for a year or two, I think it's enough to spend, I don't know, a month before the season and you'll find a job. Permanent jobs also exist, specifically in tourist establishments. And I have Russian-speaking acquaintances who have been living here for 2 or 3 years and work on a permanent basis. For example, I myself also work on a permanent basis. That is, my first job in Montenegro was also connected to my residence permit. At that time, I didn't know the language well enough yet. My salary was, when I started working, 200 euros. That's it. But nevertheless, it was kind of a startup for me, and I don't regret anything. I worked, learned the language, and learned local laws.
Len, just tell us how long you work. People might think that someone's salary is just 200 euros.
Well, it doesn't matter. No, back then when it was 200, when I was earning 200 euros, the salary in Montenegro was already decent. I mean, people were earning 600, 700 euros, yeah. So if we're talking about a permanent contract, that's a normal salary now.
Yes, but you weren't working full-time, that's what I mean.
I wasn't working full-time, but I'm not talking about you. I'm also talking about my previous employer, where I worked until 2 o'clock, yes, until 2. My workday was from 8 to 2. Ah, I see. And back then the salary was like that. Accordingly, now, as of today, the salary, well, I can say that it's probably hard to find someone working in a decent position for less than 1,000 euros, especially during the season. So from 1,000 to 1,200, 1,300, that's the real salary in Montenegro today. That's probably how it is, yes. Because even looking at the locals, those who are working have about that kind of salary.
Tell me, is there unemployment in the country or not? I think there's almost none. In my opinion, the only people not working are those who don't want to.
Unemployment? No. As such, unemployment exists only in certain fields, let's put it that way. Because there are people who have a specific profession and can only work in that field. And as a result, they might go a very long time without being paid a salary. For example, take the doctors at our institute in Bani. How long have people been going without getting paid? And naturally, what are they forced to do? Quit. And where are they supposed to go to work? Nowhere, really. They aren't any place well. The only thing they could do is lower their, let's say, job expectations and go, I don't know, clean floors or something. But they're not going to do that. And in my opinion, that's basically unemployment. So yes, that's how it is. I've always thought that the whole story about unemployment is really about people who just don't want to work. And they use it as an excuse, saying there's unemployment and no jobs. Mostly all the Montenegrins spend the whole winter talking about how there's no work. They work during the season, and then all winter they complain there's no work, sit in restaurants drinking coffee and say there's no work.
Because no one is really looking for it.
No, it's just that people don't understand why they should work all day for such ridiculous money. There is work, but the pay is lower. In the summer, for example, they can work from actually from April until the end of September or the beginning of October without any days off, from morning till night, and roughly speaking, earn the same amount, or they can work all year round and get paid less. So for them, it's easier to just throw themselves into some seasonal work through the season, and then in the winter sit around and talk about how there's no work. There's nowhere to work, nobody will hire me, and there's no work at all. And so they sit in cafes and tell each other how there's no work.
Friends, thank you all for your attention. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.